your reaction to President Pena Nieto's speech, the obstacles he's facing to the reforms and the Mexican economy. We're joined by Maricruz Magowan. She is the Vice President of the National Economists Club. Thanks so much for coming in. Let me talk to you, first of all, about the teacher strike, which prevented him from delivering his speech where he wanted to, making it impossible.
Yes.
So talk to me about that kind of stranglehold that this appears to have, in that there's a lot of roads are being closed off by the striking teachers. His reforms running into kind of some obstacles along the way. Is this to be expected?
Well, it is expected, but let's talk about the teachers. I think it's just a bump on the road. According to a poll that they just conducted in BCG, in Excelsior, they realized, they asked people, 52% of the Mexican people are fed up with all of these teachers that don't want to change the educational system that they have at this moment. President Pena Nieto wants to do the right thing. He wants to expand education to everybody that wants to be educated. He wants to have higher standards for the teachers. He wants to hire the teachers based on merit and promote them based on merit. What's wrong about that? It makes sense. Now let's go to the energy. I think it's a wonderful idea to reform the energy. If he can implement that, I think it will be a very sustainable path to economic growth. Why? Because you will have these contracts that will not be only limited to the government, but it will go to the private sector, not only in the domestic area, but also foreign investment, which is much needed if you want to grow in a sustainable manner.
You know, you bring up the energy issue. They've already calling for a strike on that on September 8th. Are we going to be seeing strikes for the teachers, energy, all across the board? And how difficult does that make his job?
It is very difficult, but it's very common. It's normal in Latin America to have that. You know, they are not very prone to changes. They get comfortable, let's say, with what they have. But what he has to do is he has to have a very powerful message. He has to communicate about the benefits to the people of the energy plan, of the change in the telecommunications. He has to really do that, and he has to hold on to what he believes, because I think he's doing the right thing.
Let me throw this out at you. One political expert from Mexico City is quoted in the LA Times as saying, "What's left of the Mexican moment? An expectation full of smoke that disappeared in the face of lack of growth. Poverty, violence, a host of other things are standing in the way of the promised reforms." How much of that is an obstacle for him, and how does he navigate that?
Well, honestly, I read that comment and I thought it was quite unfair, because let's face it, President Peña Nieto is just starting his presidency the next 6 years. So what can you do in 9 months, literally? You cannot change the entire country of Mexico in 9 months. What he is doing, for example, he has a very good accomplishment already, the Pact for Mexico, to put together different political parties and to agree on something. It's something we are not even being able to do in the United States. So what are we going to ask the Mexicans to have something like that? He actually accomplished that. So I think all he has to do is to keep going on that. Be tough, be smart, be persistent, and just try to take Mexico to this new stage of development.
You certainly don't want the political dysfunction of Washington, D.C. It doesn't matter what capital you're in, but that's a whole other argument. He's pushing for this fiscal overhaul legislation that Frank alluded to before we lost his live shot, which would include taxes on food and medicine. That's not going over very well with the left, but how important is that as well?
I will say among his plans, those are the two issues that are not very palatable. Let's say nobody wants to have higher prices on food and medicines. He will have to prioritize. I think he needs to focus first on the security. He needs to deal with the serious issue that they have in Mexico with the drug trafficking, the drug lords. From 2006 to 2012, they had 55,000 dead people and more than 100,000 disappearances. He has to deal with that. Why? Because it's going to hurt not only what he's supposed to do to protect Mexico, but it hurts the economy, it hurts tourism. Some Mexican companies already left Mexico and they took their jobs with them. He needs to deal with that. I think that's as important or even more important than the energy program that he's trying to implement.
You just took my next question, so I'll move on to the next one, which of course is security, a huge issue. What about immigration reform here in the United States? How might that impact things for him and for the country of Mexico?
It will have some impact, but not as serious as people may think. In the way, if we are having an immigration reform here, the U.S.-born immigrants that are living here will have more opportunities to educate themselves and to have higher salaries. So the remissions to Mexico are going to be supposedly higher. And right now, it's a big source of income in Mexico, the remissions coming from the United States.
We're going to have to leave it there. We've run out of time. But Maricruz, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for inviting me.